For headphones, over to the left, I have an American Audio HP700, and some of you guys know this as the Pioneer HDJ 1000 ripoff. I don't know where they came from, but I just found them in one of my drawers, and one side is broken. That's American Audio for you. And I got 3 pairs of Pioneer HDJ 2000s, 2 silver ones and 1 white one. I bought one of those silver ones used, and I use it to service parts for the other 2. What I really like about the HDJs, they are pretty expensive headphones, but the thing you're paying for is the comfort. For big over-the-ear headphones, they are really light on your head. I would like to get a pair of Audio-Technica M50s and a V-Moda, however you pronounce it, M100s, just so I have a variety of different sound. Well, some of you might ask why I have so many headphones, and the reason is, when I go out to spin, I like to variate which headphones I use so that they last longer, as well as when I'm recording with a vocalist or with somebody with an instrument, we can both listen to the music with the main monitors off. Right now, I do not have a set of proper studio monitors or have proper acoustic treatment installed. Haven't decided on monitors yet, but they will be 8-inch speakers for sure. Right now, I use an old Iowa bookshelf system from back in the day, and I believe it was purchased at Target in the 90s. To get the flattest sound possible from these speakers, I did something nerdy, and I did a slow frequency sweep, and recorded it through the microphone from the speakers. Then I inverted it and created it as an EQ preset. Sometimes I use this EQ preset and sometimes I don't. I tend to mix better when I don't use it because I've gotten used to mixing through these speakers. I also placed them on speakerphone, not so much for the acoustic reasons right now, but the fact that they help angle the speakers downwards towards me. Despite having a separate subwoofer section, these speakers actually don't produce a lot of bass compared to other Iowa systems. Okay, I know this isn't the best thing to do, but I use up to 4 USB hubs in daisy chain configuration. For the most part, it works. I have 2 D-Link USB 2.0 hubs, 1 generic 2.0 hub, and 1 Anchor USB 3.0 hub. Using the 3.0 hub is really sketchy. I get a lot of dropouts when I use my USB 3.0 drive plugged into it, but never any issue with any 2.0 device plugged in. From what I've gathered from people who use USB 3.0, it's not an issue with the drives or the hub, it's just that USB 3.0 technology is still maturing. Whenever I need speed, I just plug my 3.0 drive directly to the MacBook. For general use, I have the drives plugged in to the 2.0 hubs, and everything including all the controllers, as well as the interface and microphone work fine. I have 3 external hard drives. One of them is a Thunderbolt drive by Lacey. It can also be used as a USB 3.0 drive. I usually plug it in via Thunderbolt so that I get the fastest speed out of it. This drive is a 1 terabyte, and I use it primarily for my music library with Serato. The other drive I have is my project drive that has everything in it, including a backup copy of my library drive, and that is my 4 terabyte Seagate USB 3.0 drive. This hard drive is basically everything I've had over the years, and it started out as 2 burnt DVDs, and through generations it's been transferred through external drives many times over, and the last drive it was on was actually a 1 terabyte Western Digital drive. That 1 terabyte is down below, and today I use it as my Time Machine backup. Right now I use my DJ mixer, a Pioneer DJ M400, as my audio station to my speakers. I have the headphone outputs of my MacBook and my iPad on channels 1 and 2 respectively on the mixer. The reason why I have the audio of the iPad in here is so I can follow along with certain YouTube tutorials and listen to them through the same speakers. I also have a Serato interface which is on the Stanton Uber stand underneath the drum pad. This SL3 is normally a DJ use interface, but if you have the device driver installed, it can second as your sound card with a line input and output with 48 kilohertz and 24-bit support. I usually use the MacBook's sound card for tracking and sequencing when I want to keep the USB data stream clear. Then I switch over to the SL3 for mixing and mastering, or anything that requires critical listening. Some people who own this mixer don't know this, but the two microphone inputs can be converted as a third stereo line input, and that's what I use to output my DAW. I use that auxiliary line, especially when the other two outputs are in use by Serato decks when I have all the equipment set up. On some days, you might see Drusoy's Rain 62 here in place of the 400. My plan is to get a Firewire interface like a Focusrite or Presonus, not just for the large number of inputs and outputs, but also to keep it free from the USB's data stream. I have two Technics turntables and they're mismatched. One's a black SL1200 Mark II. Finding a black 1200 Mark II is rare because most black Mark IIs are usually a 1210 model. Not that it really makes that big of a difference, but it's something interesting in turntable nerddom. I also have a silver 1200 M3D which my dad found with a case for 25 bucks. That was the best deal I ever got on a turntable. Right now I have my roommate's first generation vinyl emulation Pioneer CDJ 1000s. In regards to the entire CDJ lineage, I regard the 1000s to be second or third generation, but it was the first of the scratchable CDJs. Usually, I have the iParty stock of the CDJ 800 Mark IIs in here. Within the year, I plan on getting the touchscreen XDJ 1000s. What I like about the direction that Pioneer is going with the new XDJs is the fact that they standardized features that normally would only be available on their flagship models like the 2000 Nexus. I'm specifically talking about the hot cues and the variable pitch ranges. What's awesome is that you don't really need the $2,000 player to practice having those features. And those features are pretty standard on all DJ software and hardware these days. Now you can use them on a deck that's half the price. Down here in the small DJ coffin is a hand-me-down from my dad, hence the Ricky V. These are a pair of CDJ 700Ss, known everywhere else outside America as the 500S. They're a lot smaller than the original 500s and were the first to use an oil-dampened floating suspension to absorb shocks when playing CDs. I have them combined with Pioneer's first two-channel DJ mixer, the DJM 300. This set has actually rocked a lot of parties and is coming close to being 20 years old. Guitar guys like to collect vintage guitars, and I like having vintage turntables and CDJs. What's cool about this coffin is that it has its own power strip with an external plug. I have a Line 6 guitar amplifier which I use with the electric guitar. It makes for a pretty cool preamp for direct line connection into the SL3. Has its own effects, but I mostly use plugins for that. Over here I have an Editor's Keys SL300 USB microphone. Right now I don't have an interface with XLR inputs or phantom power. The drawback to USB microphones is the fact that you can't run them on a real preamp. However, what sold me on this model was Editor's Key's great marketing of using professional singers to demonstrate their products. I saw a really good demo of Jessica Sanchez from American Idol using the SL150. I got the SL300 for its high pass filter and decibel control, and it came very handy because people with loud present voices can easily clip this microphone at normal levels. The first one they sent me had a broken capsule, and shipping it back to the UK cost quite a bit, but they sent me a new one right away when I contacted them, even before the old one arrived, and they refunded the shipping cost, which was awesome. It also came with a really nice carry case for portability. Sometimes I bring the stand over by my bed along with the laptop when I'm doing some lazy recording. I keep a handheld mic windscreen to keep the mic covered and dust free. It also helps filters the S's and plosives in addition to the pop filter when I'm recording, especially when I'm going for that deep radio voice proximity effect. I picked up the cheapest vocal booth shield that I could find on Amazon, which was a $60 talent brand. Most of these usually cost $100 to $150. It does really help for lowering reflections, but I notice I still get rear reflections from behind the vocalist. So what I do is I hang a blanket over my bathroom door and I face the microphone towards it. I made the mistake of getting a boom stand instead of a straight stand. If you're going to use a vocal shield, I highly recommend using a straight mic stand or using two stands, one for the mic and the other for the shield, because it's really heavy. Over here I keep my white drawer and I put my gig bag right on top of it, facing me towards the chair, so it's easy to turn around and pull stuff out or pack equipment while I'm sitting. Inside the drawer, I have an old Shure Beta 58 wireless mic system that came with a headset and instrument pack. One of these days, I'm going to use it with the guitar. I set everything up to surround me like this because I like the feeling of being immersed inside the gear in a cockpit-like fashion with many important controls within ergonomic reach. For me, it feels more tactical this way. I have a pair of brand new American Audio 800 watt powered speakers I got on a deal Black Friday at Guitar Center. They're not the best powered speakers, they have low frequency resonance, but I use them for when a club doesn't have a monitor. The bass response isn't bad despite the lack of tightness. They do, however, sound inconsistent because at equal settings, they sound slightly different. I like the fact that they take all types of inputs, RCAs, quarter inch, and XLRs, so I never need an adapter. And it's also cool that it has an EQ. Whenever you are in a bass heavy environment, it will actually save your monitors by turning the bass all the way down on them. One thing to remember, never buy wires from Guitar Center. They mark them up about 50%. Monoprice and Newegg both have high quality, thick gold plated wires for a fraction of the cost. For these speakers, I use ultimate stands. I do something kind of ghetto as well. I turn the treble down on them and the bass all the way up, volume down of course, and I plug them into my mixer while I'm producing. Combined with the Iowa system, I use it like a subwoofer. It's not the most accurate thing to do, but it does help me know what's going on in the low frequencies. I first had it pointed towards me, but I later discovered that I got better results and a deeper response by pointing it towards the corner. I use this small camera stand along with a phone clip that is connected to the bracket holding my iPhone right now as a desk stand for my iPhone. I feel it's easier when it's not laying flat on your desk. Along with these wide angle lenses I've been using, I found this as a useful tool for GoPro-like videos. Combined with a good video capture app, I can get some pretty good quality on my phone. I also have an LED camera light and a camera stand. I used to have a Canon T1i DSLR, but that had to go, and until we get a T3i, my iPhone 5 with the accessories has to do for now, which has been doing pretty well for the most part. Down in my basement, the only gear I don't have in my room are another hand-me-down from my dad, and it's these JBL SR Series 4722As. These speakers date back from the early to mid-90s, and it's what my dad used with his band. Their sound quality is incredible, especially the high end. It wasn't overly bright, and I think that's thanks to the very unique looking tweeter. They're not very bass heavy, but they work best combined with a subwoofer. Because they're so heavy compared to today's powered speakers, I rarely ever take these out. I do use a QSC PLX series amp. Forgot exactly which model, but it's one of those really light ones. My plan for these speakers is when I move my desk to a dedicated room, I'm gonna have them serve as my far-field reference monitor. One of the things I want to be able to do in a medium-sized room is to be able to simulate a nightclub's big system so I can hear what it really sounds like on bigger speakers. Some guys have a couch and video game console in their studio man cave. I don't really play video games. Instead, I have a thing for the original Power Rangers. When they started reissuing the original Zords, I indulged in a guilty pleasure of getting all three of them. Whenever I need to get my mind off a track for a few minutes, I just start transforming the Zords into different combinations. Honestly, I think I would have already had a good pair of monitors and an interface if I didn't buy these. But it's a nostalgic part of my childhood, and it helps me keep my mind in focus. Oh, and if you're asking what that Hello Kitty was on my bed, well, it's my girlfriend's, and she keeps it there so my bedroom doesn't feel like a total man cave, or more accurately, total nerd cave. I keep a dust wand, a pair of microfiber cloths, and a duster can so that my stuff is always clean. So there you have it, folks. It's not a complete setup, but it's making do with what I have so far. Hopefully in about a year or two, I can do another video in a new room with the improvements and better gear. But like I said, at the end of the day, what matters the most is making what's best with what you got then building from there as your skills grow. I'm Priyon Joni. Thanks for watching.